All right, cool. So we're good to go. So, Martin, thank you so much for coming out here. I can't tell you, I'm really, really excited about this because not only, like, first of all, we met for the first time on Bloom TV. So we met in the green room, and when they brought you in, you were so kind. You introduced yourself to me. We sat down. We just talked about what we're doing and stuff. And I didn't realize at the time you are Martin Gramatica because until you got up there with Gail, and then she said, "Oh, Martin Gramatica, former Bucs kicker." And I was like, "Holy crap!" I was just sitting with Martin Gramatica. It's like I had your jersey as a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to sport your jersey around school.
Well,
all
I
the
appreciate
time.
that.
Yeah,
you're really young, I'm sure. So
yeah. I mean, I was probably like sophomore year, something like that, of high school. But
nice.
But yeah, so it was just so cool that that was you that I was actually sitting with. Didn't realize at the time because I recognized you with that trademark long hair that you always had.
This isn't by choice. The older I get, the less I have. So finally, it started to look like a mullet. So I had to let it go.
The mullet's coming back. I think
it is coming
actually.
back for the young guys, not for me.
Yeah, got it. Well, cool. Well, thanks again for coming out. So one of the things I just wanted to talk about right off the bat, because it's most relevant, I guess, is the current Bucs season that we just had. So what were kind of your thoughts, your takeaway? What did you think about how the Bucs did this year?
No, I love the fact how they competed.
Mm-hmm.
I know Todd Bowles gets him to compete in every game, and then Baker Mayfield. What can we say about a guy that at one point I think the whole NFL is like, this guy's done. Nobody wanted him, and all of a sudden comes to Tampa, re-energizes the whole city.
Really does
because it's not easy to follow Tom Brady's footsteps.
Sure.
And now you have Baker that has different energy.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the relationship that he built with his offensive line, the guys, and I loved it. It was like, obviously, you always want to win.
Sure.
And you want to go deeper in the playoffs. And as a kicker, you don't see the ball hit the upright and go in that many times.
Sure.
And it sure enough happened to us.
I know.
So I hate when kickers miss because I relate to that.
Yeah, of course.
But when they play the Bucs, when it's something that critical, that ball needed to hit the upright and bounce back. Unfortunately for us, it bounced in.
I know. And like, what a way to lose too, because as soon as you hear that bong, you're like, oh, awesome.
We got a chance. Right. Oh, yeah. Trust me, I heard that bong a few times.
Yeah.
Never did I hear the bong and then say, oh, man, it went in.
Celebration.
Yeah,
right?
never.
So Baker Mayfield, total playmaker. I mean, he's been fun to watch for sure. The other thing on the offense that happened in the offseason is Liam Cohen leaving. What were your kind of thoughts on that? Because a lot of people were kind of split down the middle on it, because I think a lot of people feel like there was some deception there, that he wasn't going to leave. He gave his word he was going to stay. Do you think that this was a good or bad move on his part? Do you think he's kind of a dirtbag for doing it the way he did, or is this just business in the NFL?
Well, you can't blame him for taking a head coaching job.
Yeah,
you look at Byron Leftwich had a chance to go to Jacksonville, didn't take that job because I guess he wanted to bring his own GM, and now he's either out of football. I'm not even sure where he's coaching.
Sure.
So you don't get that many opportunities to be a head coach. So I agree with him taking the job to be the head coach because it's an upgrade from a coordinator to a head coach. I don't agree the way it went down, and I don't have any insights. Sure. All I'm going by is what we heard in the media, where he had given the Bucs his word that he was going to stay, and all of a sudden his phone's off for a day and he doesn't communicate with anybody, and then he ends up signing with Jacksonville. So when you talk about that, then you can say, okay, that wasn't a good way to, finish his time in Tampa, because I don't think anybody in Tampa could have blamed him if he's took the head coaching job, and the Bucs wanted to make him the highest paid coordinator in the league. Yeah. They did everything they could to keep him. Now, if he decided to go, you could say, okay, well, he's going to be a head coach. You don't get that many opportunities to be a head coach, so you can't be mad. I think we're all mad and upset the way it went down. If that's the way it went down, that's what we hear from the media. Yeah, and that's what some of the stories that we heard. So if that's the way it went down, it's kind of a shady way.
Shady, right?
Well, it's a shady way to go out.
Yeah,
because I mean, if you respect the organization you're with, I said, look, give me another interview. I just want to go see it. Yeah. If it doesn't fit or I'm not 100% sold, I'm coming back. Yeah. And then you can just be honest.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, right? Yeah. If he was just straight up about it, it wouldn't have left. People would have been more like, thank you for your time. Right. Instead, it left people with a kind of a bitter taste in their mouth.
Like Canales, when he left, most people, we weren't happy that he was staying in our division. Sure. But he was going to be a head coach. So I don't know if too many people were upset that, he left us hanging or, one and done. No, you got an opportunity to be a head coach. Yeah. So, and I think the way Liam Cohen did it where it was a little more shady as why there's so many people that are upset.
Right. What do you think that the Bucs need to do this offseason to improve going into next year?
Well, it's clear that they're looking for an edge rusher. I mean, that's all we're hearing about the draft or any free agent. We got to get after the quarterback.
Sure.
You saw what it did for Philly.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't blitz once and got to Patrick Mahomes all night in the Super Bowl. So you know that's the key to winning. And so I think that's where they're going to address the defense. Offensively, the team looked good. I mean, you have Mike. Hopefully they can sign Chris Godwin. That would be a great signing to get him back because he's a Buccaneer.
Right.
Like when they re-signed Mike, you're like, thank God they did because he is a Buck. He needs to only wear a Bucs jersey his whole career, which they did. And now I think signing Chris back would be amazing. But we have a ton of weapons. Bucky Irvin came out of nowhere. Now it's a stud. I mean,
that was an impressive performance. I think nobody really kind of saw that coming.
Well, that's the thing. We have to give Jason Light and his crew credit as well for finding these plays because there's so many draft picks that most people think, they wouldn't have worked or nobody wanted these guys, and then he finds them and they deliver.
Right.
There's not too many draft picks that haven't delivered for the Bucs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, their offensive line seems to do a good job. Mike Evans, though, once again, I mean, the guy doesn't seem to age. I mean, now he had another 1,000-yard season, passing Jerry Rice's record, which is huge. How much longer do you think this guy can go? I mean, he's been around for, I think, 8, 9 years?
I think this was 11.
11 years.
11 years, yeah. So I think it was 11. I mean, he's so smart in the way he plays now, and he takes care of his body. You see him in the offseason training and getting ready for the season. Even though he had an injury, he still got 1,000 yards. So he shows you how good he is. And the best thing about Mike is he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
I've met him a few times. We run into him outside of the football environment, and he's such a good guy. And that's why I feel like he doesn't get that much publicity outside of Tampa because all these, prima donnas, all these receivers that are like, larger than life, but don't deliver larger than life. Where Mike's delivering, and he's just staying quiet, staying humble, and he's the best receiver in the last 11 years.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say much, but that's... I love that personality about him and the type of guy that he is more than the player.
Yeah, he does so much for the community, which is amazing. We love that about Mike Evans. So it was 2022 last time we were in the Super Bowl, and it was exactly, I believe, 20 years before that you were in the Super Bowl playing. Tell me a little bit about what that season was like for you, that 2002 season.
That was a special season because of the group that we had. And we have to give credit to Coach Dungy and Coach Gruden because Coach Dungy built the core of that defense and that core of that team. Monty Kiffin handled the defense, and we had Hall of Famers on that defensive side. Now, Gruden came in and sparked the offense and gave those guys a little life. And then, obviously, having a leader like Brad Johnson as your quarterback that – I mean, he's just such a good guy, too. Like, guys want to play for a guy like that because he's not those guys that just, screaming and yelling and pointing fingers. No, he's just a worker, and you want to follow guys like that. And then, obviously, on the defensive side, you have Derek Brooks, Lynch, Sapp, Rondé.
Amazing
And then,
defense.
obviously, on the other side, Mike with Mike Allstott, just good people.
Yeah.
And I always say, when I coach kids, I say, once you cross that line, you've got to change.
Yeah.
Sports are not for soft people,
right?
But
Agreed.
And nice people.
Yeah, sure.
Now, off the field, you have to be super nice. That's a different person because when you look at like a guy like Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rondé, Mike Allstott, they're great people off the field.
Sure.
But I would never want to cross them on the other side. I want them on my team.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they'll take your head off.
Side.
They'll take your head off because that's they know how to compete.
Right.
But we had that. I think that's the most special thing about that team is the team chemistry, the friendships that we had on that team. I loved it. It was an awesome year.
One of the things I remember when all that happened and you guys won the Super Bowl, there was a lot of criticism, I think, on Gruden. Maybe criticism isn't the right word, but it was more so like, oh, he's getting all the credit, but really this was Dungy's team, and Gruden just started and then took Dungy's team to the Super Bowl. What's your opinion on that, or how did it change? I guess.
Well, like I said earlier, they both have to have credit because Dungy built the backbone of that team with Hall of Famers, good people, but then Gruden took us over the top. So and if Gruden wouldn't have come around and that offense, it didn't spark that offense, because what Gruden did, he competed with the defense.
Right.
He was more on the offensive side. In every practice, he wanted to beat the number one defense in football.
Sure.
Which made the number one defense in football better, because now our own team is competing with them every practice. So that elevated everybody's game.
Yeah.
So I disagree where there's criticism towards Gruden, and I also agree that Dungy had a big part in that team because he built the core of that team. So they both need credit. But we wouldn't have. I don't know if we would have won a Super Bowl if Gruden didn't come around.
Sure.
You just don't know. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I'm thankful for both coaches. Dungy drafted me to Tampa, brought me back to Florida, and then we were able to get over the top with Gruden. So I'm thankful to both coaches.
Yeah, and I've actually met Dungy before, and he's like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Gruden, I have not met before, but when you watch clips of these two and their coaching styles, they seem so different. Gruden seems like the loud kind of cursing guy. Dungy, maybe he was. I never saw that side of it. How would you describe their two different coaching styles?
They're total opposites, but. So with Dungy, he'll never raise his voice, never yells, never screams, but you respect the man so much that you play harder for him because you respect him because he treats you like a man. And then with Gruden, his energy is contagious.
Sure.
So they're both two very effective ways to coach. Everybody's different. You can't tell Coach Dungy to coach like Gruden or Gruden to coach like Dungy. Their personalities would never work.
Right.
So with Dungy, he trusts his players, and he gives us so much trust that anytime I missed a field goal playing for Dungy, I didn't even want to look him in the eyes because I felt like I let him down so bad.
Yeah.
Like I just felt so bad because he trusted you so much.
Yeah.
Now you have a coach like Gruden that's energetic, screaming and yelling, but he's such a motivator that you also play hard for a coach like that. So they're two very effective coaching styles that are totally opposite, but both effective. They both won Super Bowls.
Yep.
You're not gonna win a Super Bowl if you don't get your team to believe and play hard for you.
Yeah.
And they both can achieve that much different ways, but they both achieve that.
Yeah. I read somewhere that you actually moved to Florida, I think when you were around 9-10 years old, from Argentina. Is that correct? And at that time in your life, were you already into sports and playing sports and soccer? I assume soccer's
So my first thing in my crib was a soccer ball and a jersey. So my whole life I wanted to be a professional soccer player.
Okay.
I wasn't good in school. I didn't like school. So my whole world was I want to be a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
We moved to the United States. Obviously, soccer is not as popular. I'm still playing soccer. I went to Mexico for a week to train, and I thought, okay, I'm going to come back, finish high school, and then I'm going to go back either to Mexico, Argentina, but I'm playing soccer. Soccer's my thing.
Soccer's your thing, yeah.
And my senior year in high school is when I started kicking, just to help the school out because they had asked me to do it as a freshman.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm a soccer player, and I put my foot down. I'm a soccer player. I'm not a football player.
Right.
And then I kind of felt bad because by the time you get to your senior year, you're friends with a lot of your classmates.
Sure.
And a lot of them are football players. So they're like, come on, man, try it. I said, well, I'm going to do it just to help you guys out. Basically, it's kind of like a deal. It wasn't that I thought I was going to be that good or that. It's that they never had a kicker. LaBelle never had a kicker because we don't have a soccer team.
Right.
So the kicker or the guy that was kicking was one of our fullbacks or offensive lineman that kicked with his toe.
An offensive lineman?
That kicked with their toe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now you get a soccer-style kicker. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. A soccer-style kicker is going to be way better than an offensive lineman with their toe. Exactly. But that's kind of them. My classmates convincing me to you should do it. You should try, help us out. And then finally, I gave in 4 years later and tried it as a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. Look at you now.
No, I don't regret it. No, I don't regret it because I who knows what would have happened if I played soccer. You know, I would have had to leave the United States, and I love the United States. I never wanted to leave, but there was no future in soccer then.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to play at the high level, I would have had to even gone to Europe, South America, or even Mexico. But I had to leave. There's no soccer here.
Right.
So I'm thankful that thanks to football, I was able to stay in the United States, get an education, and obviously end up winning a Super Bowl here in Tampa, too.
Yeah, amazing. So that's so fascinating to me. But so when you, after high school, I believe, so then you went to Kansas State. Is that correct? And then so from there, I think you kicked the longest field goal in your career possibly ever, right? A 65-yarder. And was that what was that moment like for you? Did you, when you got on the field and the coach said, "Hey, you're going to kick a 65-yard field goal," did you even think that was in the, like, because nowadays it's not so uncommon to see but then that never happened, right? So
right. What
were you thinking when this was going on?
Well, this was my senior year.
Uh-huh.
So my first 2 years were okay.
Mm-hmm.
My junior year, I tear my ACL.
Ooh.
So now I'm out for a year.
Yeah.
My junior year, I have a really good year. So now I feel like, okay, I have a chance to go to the NFL. Before that, I wanted to go to the NFL, but I didn't have the stats, or I didn't think I was good enough to go to the NFL. But after my junior year, I said, okay, now I believe I can do it. Now I believe I'm good enough. Yeah. And then my senior year, all these scouts kept coming around to, that's normal what happens. To come. And every practice I would attempt 60, 65, depending indoors, if I could go as far as I could.
Yeah.
So the coaches knew that I could do it.
Okay.
And Coach Schneider, his son Sean, was kind of our kicking coach, and like what they would call an analyst now. He kind of took me under his wing. He's a punter that was trying to play in the NFL, didn't make it, so comes back and helps coach.
Yeah.
And we're up by like 40 points in this game.
Okay.
This is before halftime.
Okay, so if you missed it, no big deal.
No, but it wasn't. The point is, I didn't expect to kick it because we're up by so much. It's one of those early games that you schedule a soft opponent. It's kind of like a preseason game.
Okay.
And because back then, if you lost the game, you weren't playing for the national championship. It's there was no playoffs.
Sure.
So you schedule a couple easy games, get everybody on the same page, get momentum, and then you start playing the Big 12 or Big 8. Big 8 first, but then Big 12 my senior year.
Yeah.
It's right before halftime, and my shoes are untied because kickers wear tight shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we're going to halftime. So I have my shoes untied. I'm just relaxing on the bench, and all of a sudden, one of the other kickers comes up and says, "Hey, they call the timeout. We're kicking a field goal." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, the field goal." So I'm tying my shoes as fast as I can. I run on the field. I have no idea what the distance is, which it probably helped because if I would have known a 65, then maybe I would have tried a little harder, or I would have overkicked it. I knew it was far, because I could tell because the goalpost looked far away, and also I could see the purple from the Power Cat, the logo.
Oh yeah.
So I knew I was standing near the logo or on the logo. So I said, okay, this is a far one, but I didn't know exactly what the distance was. And then obviously it went in, we went crazy, and then I found out as I'm walking into the locker room that it was a 65-yarder, and at the time, and still the longest kick in NCAA history off the ground. Back then they used to use a block like high school.
Right. Okay.
Now off the ground, and I believe it still stands. So
I
that was
think
pretty
so.
cool. Yeah,
that is really cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about then. Now after college, you're getting drafted. Remind me of the year. I apologize.
So 99.
99, drafted in the third round, right?
Yes.
Tell me what it was like to be a rookie in now an NFL locker room. What was that experience like?
Well, there's a couple ways to, I guess, you can describe like the feeling, because for me as a drafted kicker, first of all, if you're a free agent kicker, things go good, great. If things go bad, they cut you and then you go to a different team.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming in as a third round pick to the number one defense in football with Sapp, Lynch, Allstott.
Defense,
or Allstott was the offense, but Brooks, So I'm thinking, I better kick good, because I was like, at one point I'm thinking, like, if I don't, then these guys were like, well, we wasted a third rounder on a kicker. We could have picked up an offensive player or a defensive player.
Sure.
We could have made our team better. So I felt a lot of pressure early on to deliver, just because of the draft pick, And obviously, as a competitor, I always would have wanted to deliver whether I was first round or a free agent.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit of added pressure, more on what people would think if I didn't kick good.
Right.
More than anything.
That makes sense.
I believed in myself, and I believed that I was going to be fine.
Right.
But I even put even more pressure on myself to be successful or to make kicks, because I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want the organization to look back and say, we shouldn't have drafted this kid in the third round. We could have used a quarterback or receiver, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So that I added a little extra pressure to myself.
What is the dynamic of a kicker in a locker room? I mean, everybody just like, we're all the boys, or kickers kind of in their own corner? Like, how does that work? I mean,
well, I was lucky that I think because of my soccer background, I love being in the locker room, the jokes, and I think the locker room has changed now with cell phones and social media. Players maybe a little bit more individual than back then, because we didn't have that. We didn't have a phone that we could tweet or text right before the game, after the game.
Yeah.
We were just talking. We communicate and the jokes. We play jokes on each other. We pranks, and that's what I love and that's what I miss about the locker room, because back then, if you show the side and weakness, now they're going to pick on you even more.
Right.
So you have to be thick-skinned. And the jokes were ruthless, like,
oh, sure.
I guarantee you 99% of the guys would be canceled now with all the the things that we said to each other.
Yeah.
But that was just what we did, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. The locker room, and I never, ever in my career ever felt like I was being pushed aside. Hey, kicker, you're over here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They always, every team that I've been on, I made sure that I was trying incorporated myself in the team.
Well, and you made such a good impression, I think, on the other teams you went to because you were so successful here and did such a great job. And you seem like a great guy, easy to get along with. So, all right. So, was there anybody in that season on that team that kind of you really connected with, took you under their wing, kind of showed you the ropes, kind of thing like that, like a mentor?
Well, it was great that when Tom Tupa, the punter, came in, he was a little older than I was, so you had that role model, kind of like he's been kicking for 15 years, 10 years, whatever it was, and I was going into my 4th year. He was one of them for sure, but Derek Brooks was amazing too in the locker room, giving us all like veteran advice.
That's awesome.
Sap always the protector, so any issue I ever had, I had Sap by my side. So we had different type of guys. I remember talking to Mike Allstott about life too. Like he's always trying to help the younger players.
That's
Rondé
awesome.
was a young player, but still you could see the leadership right away.
Yeah.
And then Brad, my locker was right next to Brad, so just picking his brain and just watching him work, it was basically like without him knowing, he was taking me under his wing because I'm following his footsteps. Like, okay, this is our starting quarterback, this is our leader, and look how hard he's working. I better work hard.
Right.
So there were so many quiet leaders too that just led with example. Our practice was incredible, the intensity, because our defense set the tempo and then our offense matched it. So it was crazy, the intensity of these practices, because everybody wanted to win and everybody wanted to be successful. So yeah, it was an awesome locker room for a young player. You couldn't have asked for a better locker room as far as the leaders and how they showed us the way.
Yeah, I mean that team really was stacked with Hall of Fame players, including yourself. That was. You look back and there's like no better Bucs, kind of team that I can remember in my lifetime, and I've been here my whole life. I mean, I remember the Vinny Testaverde days and all that, but I mean, that team was just so stacked, which is got to be cool to be a part of that.
Well, the coolest thing about it is it was stacked on the field, because you mentioned the Hall of Famers, you had the Ring of Honor guys, but also good people.
Yeah.
We were all friends. Everybody got along. You always had like brotherly love. There's going to be an issue or a little fight in practice, but then it's over, because once we're facing an opponent, we all have our backs. But at the time, in camp, especially when it's hot and you're tired, and tempers flare a little bit in practice, but then after that, we're the Bucs now. Now we're going against everybody else.
Yeah.
But we had really good guys on that team, and that's what I take away the most.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I am personally campaigning for you to get in that Ring of Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. No, that'd be nice. What I say is, look, if it happens, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Because with all the big names and what the Bucs mean to me.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, I'm still very pleased and happy that I was a Buccaneer and that we won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I think back of all the great Bucs players, and again, you go back to that season, that year, I mean, your name is definitely on the list. So you deserve it. Tell me, going into that Super Bowl 2002, what is the mindset like? I mean, because it's obviously not just any other game, right? This is a huge deal. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A lot of people never get to a Super Bowl, So tell me what the mindset was like for you going into that.
Well, for me, the whole week, I felt a little bit of the extra pressure because the year before, Vinatieri had kicked the game winner for the Patriots.
Okay, yeah.
When they beat St. Louis. So now everybody's talking about the kicker. Is it going to be Gramatica? Is it going to be Janikowski? Or, what's going to happen if it comes down? So I'm thinking, like, normally they don't even care about the kicker. The kicker, they're going to talk to the quarterback, the receiver, running back, our defense. But kicker, who cares about the kicker? And now this time, every interview, they were mentioning something about the kicker because of the year before. So during the week, I felt, okay, this is it's an important game. Yeah. But I felt like it hit me like, okay, I'm in the Super Bowl when we drove up on the bus, and now I'm seeing the flags. And usually if you're away, you see the opponent's flags, or if you're home, you see all the Buccaneer fans and the Bucs flags. Yeah. But now I'm seeing Super Bowl flags. It's San Diego, and I'm thinking, oh man, we're here.
Right.
And I felt a little bit of like, the nerves kick in.
Yeah.
And then in warm-ups, it was by far the worst warm-ups of my life.
Oh, really?
No, it was like, it wasn't even, because if it's bad one way where I'm pushing everything, then okay, I'll adjust my body and aim somewhere, you know,
Sure.
you can, no, these are going left, right, short, left again, you know, so
oh my gosh,
I was spraying
balls.
ball.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's like most people's golf games, you know,
Yeah.
where they spray balls everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what my warm-up was like.
Oh my god.
It went to the point where Rich Bisaccia, our special teams coach, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna have to go for 2." He was joking because the extra point was short back then, the 20-yarder, not the 33-yarder. But he was also like showing me like, "Hey, man, you're horrible right now. You suck.
good.
Like,
Right.
yeah, it's not looking good." So that was kind of a way to like wake me up. And luckily, I was able to calm myself down. But also, when people ask me, "What did you do?" I said, "I cussed myself out for like an hour."
Oh, really?
Like you can't be an idiot. This cannot be the day that you kick bat. So I basically turned it around like if I was coaching myself, like if I was coaching like my kid now, like, hey, don't be an idiot. You can't. So I'm like, oh, right now, because it was so bad that I had to like, and everybody kind of realized that. The coach, Bisaccia left me alone. Yeah. The only one that I talked a little bit was Tupa again. That fatherly advice. He kind of calmed me down a little bit. And then on top of that, you had the longer national anthem, the pregame. So I'm sitting
spectacle.
there. Yeah, so we're sitting there, and I remember with Tupac, we just went in the training room and kind of laid on the training room tables, where they tape the ankles and just and not even take a nap, but we kind of closed our eyes, relaxed a little bit because it was like 15, 20 minutes before you got to even go back out to re-warm up.
Right.
So I think that might have helped because as much as I wanted to just get out there and start kicking, I was able to like mentally get myself back to where I needed to be after a horrible warm-up. And then the kicks in the game, once that first one goes in, then you kind of, okay.
You loosen up.
Oh, you're okay, this is a regular game.
Yeah,
It's the Super Bowl. It's the most important game of our lives.
Right.
But it's still football.
Yes.
So now it's like, why am I overthinking it? Why am I trying something different? No, it's just me kick the ball through the uprights. Yeah. So I think once I saw the first one go in, and then obviously winning with such a margin, we were able to enjoy the fourth quarter. Yeah. I knew it wasn't going to come down to a field goal. So
you could relax.
You don't want to relax too much. You still got to go back in the field. But we knew it wasn't going to come down to a last second kick, and we felt like, okay, there's no way they can come back on our defense. So it was a really enjoyable fourth quarter. That's for sure.
I bet. And what were kind of the attitudes of the other guys in the locker room at that time? Did you notice like a dynamic shift during that time?
No, the thing that we noticed the most was everybody was so locked in, and I believe Keenan McCarter was the only guy that had a Super Bowl ring, but he was on a practice squad of a team, so nobody had an actual ring that they had played for.
Got it. Okay.
So we were so hungry to have that ring, and everybody said, and like you said, this was our only chance. You don't know if you're going to get back to another Super Bowl.
Right.
And you look at a guy like Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, played in one, didn't win, and then never went back.
Right.
So we knew the sense of urgency and what it was going to take to win that game. And then obviously the defense stepping up the way they did. What are the odds of Gruden playing his former team?
Yeah, seriously.
When he pretty much knew everything that was coming to us.
Yeah.
So everything kind of played in our hands where we could not waste that opportunity, and thank God we didn't.
Yeah. Where's your ring now? Do you keep it in a safe? Is it on the mantle?
No, it's locked up in the safe deposit box. I make sure that thing's safe.
I bet. I bet you do.
Yeah.
So, I believe in that game you had 2 field goals, 6 extra points. What was it like to be that big of a contributor? I mean, that's huge.
No, it was great because early on it was a close game. So they scored first, and we tie it up, and then we go up 6-3. So it was those. Even though at the end those field goals didn't really matter too much, but it was nice to be able to score the first points for the Bucs in the Super Bowl.
Of course.
So these are little things that at the time didn't really matter too much because you're just playing to win that ring. But now looking back. When I have kids that kick and my family now, I can sit back and look back and say, okay, that's pretty cool that when somebody talks about the Bucs Super Bowl, I was able to score that field goal unit because it wasn't myself. Our unit scored the first points in a Super Bowl for the Bucs. So little things like that. So and then to have 12 points where Brooks had 12, so there was 3 of us that had 12 points.
Wow! Because
they had 2 pick six. I think Dexter had 2 pick six, no, Dwight Smith I think had the 2 pick six.
Okay, got it.
So there's 3 of us that led in scoring with 12 points. So
that
really was pretty cool too. Yeah,
that's really cool. So tell me about your departure from the Bucs. Was it the Cowboys or the Saints you went to next?
No, so I went to the Colts.
That's right.
With Coach Dungy.
Colts. Okay.
Yeah, so I kicked off off for the rest of the season when I left the Bucs.
Yep.
And then I was out for a year with an adductor surgery. So I had a groin surgery that was out for the year. And then when I came back, I was with the Patriots for preseason, got hurt again, went to Dallas, went back to Indy, and then finished with New Orleans.
So what was it like getting back with Dungy again, reuniting with him? How was that experience?
It was incredible. So when I leave the Bucs, I was mentally and physically exhausted. My body was pretty much shutting down. My adductor was done. So my wife and I were, at the time we were dating, we decided to go. I need to get away, so we go to Cancun. We're like, we're gonna go spend a week in Cancun. I just need to get away from football. I called my agent. I said, I'm done for the year. There was 5 weeks left. I said, I don't want to play anymore. I just need to get my body right. It's just not right. I said, don't call me unless it's Coach Dungy or Coach Marciano, my special teams coach. That was with the Houston Texans at the time.
Okay.
So it's okay, perfect. Everything's great. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go spend a week in Cancun, relax, and then I'll re-sign somewhere next year and get back at it.
Yeah.
We land in Cancun. My agent. He's like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Not even off the plane yet.
No, we're off the plane. We're on the van to the resort.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I pick up. Funny. He's like, yeah, Coach Dungy wants to sign you to kick off. I'm like, as sad that I was that I can't spend a week in Cancun, I was like so excited to get back with Coach Dungy.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, no problem. Basically hung up the phone, spent a night in Cancun. We flew out the next morning to Indy in the middle of winter, but all I had was, bathing suit and
all your clothes for Cancun.
Oh my God. So I had my younger brother Santiago packed my cleats, my shoulder pads. I had custom shoulder pad made and put it all in a box. I said, send me a couple jackets and maybe a couple pants, and he overnighted everything to me to Indy. So it got there almost at the same time as we did.
Oh, wow.
So when I got to Indy, I had some warm clothes, but also my cleats and pads and everything that I needed. So but it was a crazy story. I didn't expect to play anymore because my leg was in a lot of pain, but I didn't want to say anything to Coach Dungy. I would have played on one leg for Coach Dungy. So I said, if I get another chance to play for Coach Dungy, I'm doing it. And it was painful. At the time, I was like, I did everything I could to like kick off as far as I could for him.
That's awesome.
But it was like, man, it was a lot of pain. But I'm like, I'm doing it. Just for him.
That's awesome. So, so you have been on a few different teams, a few different locker rooms. I want to ask you, is the dynamic between locker rooms different, or as Ian Beckles would say, locker rooms are locker rooms?
Well, locker rooms are locker rooms. The thing is, I never felt at home in another locker room like I did in Tampa.
Okay.
Because I was drafted here. This was home. This was my team. These were my teammates. Anytime I signed with another team, I would be halfway through the year with like 5 weeks left, or I start the year, I get hurt, then I re-sign. So I never felt comfortable because, and a lot of it was me, not the team, because my leg after the third adductor surgery just wasn't responding.
Yeah.
So it's like, you performed at a high level, we won the Super Bowl, and now my body's just not responding. So it's really frustrating. So it was more me than the team. I'm sure if I would have felt great and was kicking great, I would have been able to be part of any team.
Yeah.
But in this case, I was spending more time in a training room or massage therapy. So I wouldn't even hang out. As soon as practice was over, I had to go get therapy.
Right.
And I would get a lot of therapy outside of the facility as well because I wanted to get extra done. So it was tough. It was tough. So I never really integrated myself in another locker room like I did Tampa. Tampa was home for me.
Yeah. So one of the things I think people always can sympathize with in football is that missed field goal at the end of the game,
Not always.
Some
sympathize.
Correct. You're correct. Yes, totally. So, but tell me, like, one of those times for you where it was on the line, it was on your foot, as they say, you kick it up, doesn't go the way you want. What is that? How crushing is that feeling? And what is again, I keep using the word dynamic, but then what's the dynamic like back in the locker room? Do people kind of point the finger, this is your fault? Do they feel this is a team effort? We shouldn't have been that close in the first place kind of attitude? Tell me about one of those experiences and what that was like.
Yeah, no, I had a big miss for the Bucs in Green Bay, which would have given us a first run by in the playoffs. It was a big game, and I missed a 40-yarder, pushed it wide right, and I was just talking to somebody about it the other day, and I was like, man, I still can see it in my head, and I can't believe that I missed. Because at the time, it's a 40-yarder, but when you watch it on film, it looks like an extra point. I'm like, I can't miss something that short. And the more I watch it, the more pissed off I get because I was like, I should have never missed that kick.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my teammates were great. I never had anybody point finger. Coaches, even though it was huge because now we go from having a first round bye to going to Philly to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing that game. So I felt very responsible for that loss.
I see.
But I never had anybody point fingers. And I think a lot of it is, like I said, those leaders that we had. But also I always try to work out with the team. The offseason, I spent the whole offseason in Tampa. I would work out. So they know that if something went wrong, it's not because I wasn't working hard enough.
Yeah,
and to me, as a former soccer player, I wanted to work out with the team. And I didn't like the gym. I'm not going to say I'm a gym rat, but but when we did running stuff outside, I love that.
Yeah,
so if we had sprints or if we had any type of conditioning, that was my favorite because from soccer, I could run all day, or back then, not anymore, but I could run all day. So that was fun to me.
Yeah.
And the guys respected that because a lot of times the kickers back then were more looked at as outsiders because they would do their kicking, do some training, and then go play golf.
Yeah.
I know there was one guy that would go play a round of golf in camp during 2 days. And this was after Tupa. This was like my last year here with the Bucs. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at him like, you're out of your mind. And if the guys see you, that's just very disrespectful.
Right.
But he didn't want to go take a nap.
Yeah.
While most guys need to take a nap because they're beating the crap out of each other.
Sure.
He's golfing. So I think not liking golf helped me because now I'm working out. I'm around the guys, and they realize that if you're working, then if you make a mistake or the ball doesn't go in, it's not because you weren't working hard enough. It's part of sports. You're going to make and miss them.
Yeah, totally. And you're one of the best kickers to play the game. What advice would you give to people who are looking to get into the NFL, be a kicker? What kind of techniques did you practice? What advice would you give them to stay strong and potentially make it in the NFL?
I give advice about that every day.
I bet you do.
I have two boys that want to do it, so so I'm working with. No, the advice is work hard. I mean, you've got to work. It doesn't matter who you are, how good you are. If you don't work, you're not going to make it. And that's at anything, not just kicking, not the NFL, at anything. If you don't work hard at your podcast, it's not going to be successful. So if you want to be successful, you got to work hard at it. And that's just the way it is in life. So the same advice that you can give anybody for any type of career, any type of job, it's the same for the NFL. The thing is, with the NFL, the funnel keeps getting narrower and narrower. There's high school kids or Pop Warner, high school, college, and then pro. So you've got to be an elite. And not only you have to be good at what you do, but you have to work harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the advice I give my kids. I have a freshman kicking at USF, senior in high school that will be kicking in college in a year, hopefully. And that's the thing I tell them. I said, if you don't work, which the thing that people ask me, are you proud that he made it to USF? Are you proud that he did this or that? No, I'm proud that they work hard.
Yeah.
And that they want it on their own, because I always tell parents, because everybody's kid is usually going to be the next Messi, the next Michael Jordan, the next, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't realize that there's a lot of sacrifice to get to that.
Yeah.
To be the next Messi, the next Tom Brady.
Sure.
You have to, and it doesn't matter how hard you push a kid.
Yeah.
If they don't want it,
yeah,
and they don't have it in their heart to work hard, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So did I push my kids? Yeah. People say, oh, you push your kids. Yeah, I'm going to push my kids because I know what it takes to get to where they want to get.
Sure.
But now they do it on their own. Now they get up at 4 a.m, they do the ice tub, they go to the gym, they do their kicking.
Yeah.
And I'm there to assist and guide them, but I'm not there to push them. They push themselves. If they're not pushing themselves at that age, then it doesn't matter what I do or how much I push them, they're not going to make it. So now that's up to them, how hard they want to work, how many times they want to go to the gym, how many times they want to kick. That's up to them. Now I'll be there to guide them on technique, on getting their mental side. Santiago, my youngest brother, he's better at teaching the technique than I am, much better. He sees like the little details, the plan for the. I mainly work on their heads. I'm hard on them.
Got it.
Like too at times, according to my wife, a little too much, because it's easy to be hard on your kids.
Yeah.
And then the uncle is the nice guy. So Santiago's like so we're the good cop, bad cop. I work on their head, and then he works on their technique. So it works out pretty good.
Yeah, good combination.
Good combo.
So I want to talk about life after the NFL now. But just real quick, how was it to get out of the NFL? Was it hard for you to let go of the game, or were you, like you said, your body's so worn at that point, you were ready to let it go?
I was never ready to let it go, but my body was. So it was tough. There was a couple of years that I just couldn't even watch football on Sundays because I felt like I could still play. I still want to play, but I can't. So it's like, it was, when I decided to retire, it was a kick that I pulled 5 muscles.
Right.
It was because they were giving me cortisone shots, and it was just my body just wasn't responding. As soon as I hit that ball, I felt my adductor, my glute, my lower back, quad, hams, everything just like like a big contraction where everything locked up. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, this is it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I show up to the training room and they gave me crutches. It's like I couldn't even walk. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I think it's time.
Oh, wow.
And then you slowly figure out, okay, there's life after football.
Sure.
And it's, what do I do? Do I, get depressed and angry, or do I move forward? And thankfully, my wife's been incredible at being by my side on the good and the bad, because the first couple of years I couldn't have been easy to live with.
Yeah,
because
sure.
still wanting to play,
It's frustrating.
having young kids that you want to play, so they
Right.
see you play too. Now I can't. So,
Oh.
but slowly I got to the point where, okay, it's over. I know I can't do it anymore. I'm able to go to a game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And now I do the Spanish broadcasting for the team, which is amazing. 'Cause
Yeah,
now I
that's
feel
cool.
like I'm part of the team without having to get on the field.
Sure.
There's a little less pressure. I don't have to make kicks,
Yeah.
but it makes me part of the team as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's gotta feel good.
so life is good now.
Awesome. And so when we first met, you were promoting your business. And like we talked about in the beginning of this call, I didn't catch who you were at the time as far as the kicker goes, but I knew what you were doing as far as your new business. And so now you're with Clearview Imaging, and this is your own company you started, is that correct?
Yeah, so I have 3 partners and myself,
Okay.
so there's 4 of us,
Okay.
all local businessmen, all local. The thing with me, when I partner up with this group, we all have the same values when it comes to family and community.
Sure.
And that's the thing, being here since '99, growing up in Florida, I didn't want to have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in this community, and thankfully with my partners, we're able to do that. We have an office that we opened in the Villages.
Okay.
We're in the process of remodeling now. We have an office here in Tampa that we're going to open. So everything we do, so to kind of tell you what we do is
Yeah.
we're doing preventative scans for heart disease and cancer.
Okay.
And anybody over the age of 35 should start to get some preventative
Okay.
scans, because we're seeing people so young now with cancer and heart disease that and that's not me saying you should at 35. It's like the doctors of radiology, and
Sure.
there's doctors out there that embrace what we're doing, because what we do is all preventative, and we want our patients to come in asymptomatic.
Okay.
Because right now, when somebody comes in feeling great, we don't know if they're 100% healthy or not.
Right.
So when you look inside now, there's cases where we've had triathletes come to the office, and now we see heart disease, or we
Wow.
capture cancer.
Okay.
Now, but the thing is, once it's detected early, it can be survived with a higher percentage, but most
Yeah.
importantly, with good quality of life.
Okay.
And one of the craziest stories, I don't know how much time we have.
No,
but-
we have plenty of time.
Okay, a good friend of mine, he ends up having a heart attack,
Mm-hmm.
massive heart attack. And Ernie, I had talked to him about what we did, but he said, "No, I feel good. I'm healthy. I'm, typical guy. We're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And he ends up having a massive heart attack. When I find out about it, I call Ernie. Ernie, how you feeling? He's like, I feel great now, but I want to come in and do the full body scan and make sure everything's fine. I'm going to bring Cindy, my wife. So they come in on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday, we get the results, and he's fine. Thank God, everything's great.
Yeah.
And his wife now has kidney cancer,
Oh,
the
no.
size of a softball. So Cindy,
Oh.
and good friend of ours, he travels with the Bucs. He's part of the organization. Was part of the organization as a sponsor from the Mercedes dealership in Sarasota. So I've known Ernie probably 15, 20 years. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember seeing him at every trip.
Right.
And now Cindy has cancer the size of a softball.
Oh, wow.
The thing is, luckily, once we detected it, she had to go to a specialist, and we had to wait 4 to 5 weeks after she had the surgery, because they took out the kidney and 2 lymph nodes.
Mm-hmm.
We had to wait to see if she needed chemo or radiation, and thank God she didn't need any chemo or radiation.
Thank God, yeah.
But listen to this: the scary part is 2 scary parts. A month before her scan, she had her annual physical, and the doctors drew blood and told her that she had the kidneys of a 17-year-old. Because they were functioning properly. They're not using technology to look inside.
Yeah.
The other scary part is her doctor, after the surgery, said that if she would have scanned just a month after the day that she scanned, she would have needed the chemo and radiation, because it
Oh
would have
my
started to
gosh.
spread. If she would have waited 6 months, it would have metastasized. It would have been too
Wow.
late. And Cindy they have 9 grandkids. She was cancer-free now 2 years.
Amazing.
Their lifestyle never changed, even though she
Wow.
did have the surgery. But now, that's the thing where we always encourage our patients, because when you come in asymptomatic, if we find something, not only do you have a higher percentage to beat it if we catch it early, but most importantly, with good quality of life, eliminating the chemos and radiation. And thank God Cindy did. So that's what we do with everything we do is preventative.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. So is it kind of like a big like MRI machine type of thing, or how does it work?
That's a really good question. Most people think it's the MRI, the loud, claustrophobic. Ours is about an 18-inch donut, and our heads never go in the scanner because we're going top of the shoulders, base of the pelvis.
Okay.
So anybody that has claustrophobia, you can look through the donut and never even know you're in a scanner.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And unlike the MRI, because the MRIs are 45 minutes to an hour, depending. I've had knee MRIs, hip MRIs, where you're like laying there with a thing in your face.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
This full body scan is 4.5 minutes.
Oh, wow, that's it.
That's
so
it.
So 4.5 minutes, you're out of there.
4.5 minutes where you can see from the top of the shoulders, base of the pelvis, everything. We'll look at if there's any calcification in the arteries of the heart. We look at every organ to see if there's any abnormalities, and if there's anything going on, we'll see it. We can see a 2-millimeter shadow, something that small.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's incredible technology. And my wife and I heard an ad on the radio about a preventative imaging, and we went to do it just for peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because I assumed, okay, we work out, we eat healthy. We're like, oh, we're fine.
Yeah.
And thank God we were, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the case. We see, like I said earlier, triathletes that look amazing, and now have either heart disease or cancer that they have no idea they have. So, it's incredible. I'm so happy that I could still do preventative imaging because I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I've had tons, friends that are saved by a scan like Cindy, but I've had others, and then friends of friends that have been saved by a scan. So it's thousands of people are being saved by preventative scans.
That's amazing. Yeah. So what made you get into that business, Clearview?
Well, originally I went in with my wife just to be proactive.
Okay.
I heard this ad on the radio. Most people have no idea they can do a preventative scan.
Yeah.
Most people think, okay, I feel something, I go see my doctor. If I don't feel anything, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. That's why we want to scan. And I always encourage anybody that's feeling well, that's when you want to come in.
Right.
Because if something's going on. And then I just fell in love with preventative imaging. I was working for a company for 4 years. Again, I feel like I want to be part of Tampa. I want to be part of the community. Things didn't really work out, so I decided to. Well, I left without knowing what I was going to do.
Okay.
And, it's one of those things when you lose trust in the ownership, it's time to go. I just left, and luckily, I ran into a friend of mine that was interested in preventative imaging. Was a patient of the old company, and they said,
wow.
Listen, I've always wanted to do that. I wanted to actually invest in the old place. They never reached out to me, so let's do it.
That's
and
cool.
So there's 4 of us because I'm not a good day-to-day, setting up everything, technology stuff.
Sure.
So I'll be doing all the marketing, all the meetings, all the pretty much outside sales, outside speaking engagements, and then the other guys will take care of all the hard work.
Awesome.
I'll be the ugly face of the organization.
So when do you guys officially open?
So we have a way that we can scan people right away.
Oh, right now?
Yes. So we're in the process of opening our offices, but we have a partnership with a group where we can scan. So we can, if anybody wants to do a full body scan and set their baseline, we can take care of that.
Okay.
Our office in the Villages, we're hoping by July 1st we have everything set up.
Okay.
We're already in the remodels. We have the spot selected here in Tampa, so we're close to that too. But I have so many people that want to do it right away.
Yeah, sure.
So we have a spot where we can set the baseline, because the baseline is considered, that first scan is considered the baseline scan.
Yeah.
And the program, because we've got a program that's very similar to the mammogram. When women, after a certain age, do a mammogram every year.
Yeah.
And they do it every year because if something were to develop between scans or between mammograms, they catch it early.
Sure.
With our program, it's the same concept.
Okay.
The baseline is year 1, and we hope that everything's great, unremarkable, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now every scan is going to be compared to the previous year.
I
So
see.
if anything were to change for the worse or sometimes for the better, like in my case. My scan has changed every year. I've scanned 5 times now. Every year, my scan's different.
Okay, interesting.
And nothing major, thank God.
Yeah.
But just like we change on the outside, we change on the inside.
Sure.
But there's a couple things that I was able to correct for the better by knowing that I had these issues.
Okay.
One was with my lower spine, and the other one, which I don't even know, but I think it's because of nutrition and exercise. After a certain age, most men's prostate gets enlarged, and then you have to check the PSA levels to make sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Mine went back to the normal range. Where
interesting.
my first 2 years was a little bit elevated. Nothing major, nothing concerning, but a little bit elevated. Now I went back. So I have that peace of mind and know, okay, whatever I'm doing, exercise, nutrition-wise, is actually working.
Got it.
But then obviously, by scanning every year, if something were to develop, I know it's going to be caught early because it wasn't in the year before.
Got it. And is this something you can use insurance for? Will insurance cover this, or is this just like kind of pay as you go, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's not covered by insurance because it's preventative.
Okay. Makes sense.
But what happens is now if we find something or we detect something, now the doctor and any examination, any test afterwards will be covered by insurance because now the patient has a reason to go see their specialist.
Right.
You know
okay.
what I mean? So like in Cindy's case, for example, when we detected the cancer, she had to go to a specialist and she had to have the kidney surgery, and all that was covered by insurance because now there's a reason to, which in her case, the doctor was like amazed that, like, why would you even go get a scan if you were feeling fine? Well, and she kind of told the story, but she's like, if you would have never gone, the story would have been different. We have another friend of mine that we saw thyroid, I think in the stomach, or I think there's a thyroid. And when he went to Moffitt, they were like, we've never seen it this early. They usually see it when it's later and a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
But since we detected it early, he was able to have the surgery, but didn't need chemo and radiation. So there's times that these doctors are amazed that things are caught early because a lot of doctors have no idea that we're doing preventative scans either.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things where we want to make sure they all understand. We're not competing with anybody. Sure. We're not competing with any hospital, any doctor, because we're detecting things, and we're not doctors. We don't treat. We don't do any of that. We just detect it, and now the patient goes to see their specialist or their primary care, and then from there they take whatever measure is next to either the surgeries or whatever the case is, but the doctors will determine what the next steps are.
Right.
We're just providing the information to the patient.
Right. And I think the key in what you're saying here is, like, don't wait till you feel something's wrong in order to go get checked. Do this ahead of time. Be preventative, like you're saying.
Well, that's one of the biggest objections that I guess, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I feel, to be honest with you. Like, almost scared to find out.
Well, here's two things.
Yeah.
You're going to know.
Yeah.
That's because people are going to know. So my best friend, she won't do it. Mm-hmm. She's like a sister. She hasn't done it, and she's like, I don't want to know. And I call her. I don't know how what I can say on your podcast, but
say whatever you want.
I call her every name in the book because I say you're a freaking idiot because you're going to know if something's going on. You're going to know. Unfortunately, because she's not scanning, she's going to know when it's too late.
Exactly.
So would you rather know early, be able to treat it, and then survive it?
Yeah.
So that's why for the people that say I don't want to know, you're going to know.
Yeah.
And then the other one I get is like, well, what if you find something?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't scan, that's something still there.
Right.
And you're going to find it when it's too late.
Yeah.
So you'd rather find it early and treat it. So I get that a lot.
I bet.
And I scan every year, and I've scanned for 5 years, and I have a little anxiety every time I scan because I go, is this the year that something pops up? But I also have the peace of mind to know, okay, last year's was fine. So if we do find something, it's going to be early enough that I could go see a specialist and treat it and hopefully survive it at a higher rate with good quality of life. So it gives you that peace of mind too. Yeah,
that's such a great point. I need to get in there and just do this. I just need to do
How old are you? Over 35?
I am. I've just turned 41 last week.
Oh, you look good, man. I thought I didn't even think you were 30.
I appreciate that. Hope we keep it up. But anyway, well, how do people get a hold of Clearview Imaging right now? What's the best way to get a hold?
The best way is clearviewimaging.com or our website. The phone numbers, the number for the village is 352-714-SCAN.
Okay.
And then Tampa's 813-714-SCAN. So they can do that. Or they can follow me on social media. I mean, I post about it all the time, and I'll post the links to the website. But the website is usually the best way. And our phones are up and running. They can make appointments right away. So if anybody's interested, we can get them in.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I want to do one last thing. I have a lightning round. I do this with all my guests.
I figured that must be a podcast thing, right? I figured you were going to start blasting me.
There's got to be some type of game in here.
It was too easy, man. You've been too nice.
No, this is easy stuff. So this is just simple this or that. There's no wrong answer. Just you tell me what you prefer, okay?
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, and this is mostly Tampa-related stuff, all right? So we're going to try to do this in 45 seconds if we can, all right?
Perfect.
All right, here we go. All right, so would you rather do a Bucs game at Raymond James Stadium or a Lightning game at Amalie Arena?
Bucs.
St. Pete Beach or Clearwater Beach?
Clearwater.
Ybor City nightlife or Hyde Park Village dining?
Hyde Park.
Armature work or Sparkman Wharf?
Armature work.
Cuban sandwich or wings?
Cuban sandwich.
The Gasparilla Pirate Festival or the Florida State Fair?
Neither.
Yeah, me too. Walking down Riverwalk or walking down Bayshore?
Bayshore.
Chilling at Armature. Oh, I already asked you that one. Sorry. South Tampa Charm or St. Pete Artsy Vibe?
South Tampa. I'm sorry. we're in St. Pete now, but South Tampa. I don't get to come down. I live in Carrollwood.
I'm a South Tampa guy too.
Okay, good.
All right. So watching a live band or relaxing on a rooftop bar in downtown Tampa.
Rooftop bar.
Awesome. Very good. You did it. I think this is my applause. Yep, there it is.
That was easy, man.
That was easy stuff, right?
I thought you were going to put me on the spot.
No, I wouldn't do that. Well, awesome. Well, Martin, it's been awesome having you here. It's been a real honor. Like I said, I just was so excited to have you come in. It's like a childhood hero of mine. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can have you back on another time.
I'd love to do it, man. It was fun. Always, especially talking Tampa. We love our community, love being here. So you made it easy. So it was fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I appreciate you wearing my jersey.
Yeah.
Not too many people did.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was cool because I always like to get the jersey that you don't see a lot of. Like that was my thing as a kid. And I was like, oh, Martin Gramatica. That is so cool. I'm going to get that. So anyway,
awesome. Well, I appreciate
awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.